Now we're going to add decoration to our snake. On the left-hand side, you can see the plain prototype of the snake without any decoration. In the middle is a decorated snake printed in white, and on the right is the decorated snake printed in a sparkle filament. I'm not going to go through in complete detail how to decorate the entire snake. Rather, I'm going to demonstrate a few tips and techniques that you can use, and I'll just be working on the central body piece. The idea is that you want to make your own custom snake design, so feel free to experiment. You can add spikes instead of rounded scales, as I've done. Just let your imagination run wild and create your own unique design. Here's our simplified prototype of the snake with the head, the body, and the tail. Notice I've made a copy of the snake design, and I'm going to change the name to snake body because I'm just going to work on one piece at a time. I'm going to delete the head and the tail, and I'll just focus in on the body. Click orthographic view, tap F to zoom in, look at it from the top. What I want to do is to add decoration to the outside here. One way I could do that is to drag out a sphere, and holding down the shift key, I'll shrink the size of the sphere, and I could move it over to the shell, lift it up, move it over and down. You want it embedded so that it will print properly, right? But notice that the shape is protruding from the bottom. Now it's not impeding the joint, but this will cause a problem when printing. If we look at the model in Bamboo Studio and slice it, we'll use the slider to go down layer by layer. And you see these blue circles? Those are bits of filament that will be printed in mid-air. So the strands of plastic will just fall down to the bottom. Now you'll be able to clean those up afterwards, but we'd prefer not to have to do that. We'd prefer to have a nice clean print. So we're going to need to make sure that the decorations don't project beyond the shell. You can look at this from another angle. Go all the way up. Those blue markings indicate unsupported areas in the model. Now we could also add supports, but again, we would prefer not to have to do that. So we'll go back and modify our design so that we'll eliminate those unsupported areas. We want to eliminate any protrusions within the shell. So how can we do that? All right, I'll get rid of that sphere. Click on my shape, look at it from a top view, and I'm going to go ahead and ungroup everything. And I'll get rid of the large hole box, the small hole box, and leave everything else. Okay. Looking at the shell from the top, I see that it's 21 by 21.18. I'm going to drag out a half sphere, and I'll make it 21 by 21 by 21. I'll click on the shell to select both pieces. Click Align, click on the shell so that it does not move. I'll center or align those two shapes along the middle. And now I'm going to click on the half sphere and rotate it 90 degrees. So that should be aligned with the shell, but I'll go ahead and double check. Click on the shell, hold the Shift key, click on the half sphere, click Align, and we can see that it is indeed aligned. Okay, so that's good. This dimension doesn't match. That's 10.5, and I need it to be 21.18. 21.18. So I've created a solid version of the shell. All right, and the idea is that I'm going to add the small spheres to make the skin of the snake, but I'm going to use this half sphere as a whole, and it will cut out the inside of all those spheres. The spheres are going to actually overhang the lip of the shell, so I'm going to want to have a cylindrical piece here as well. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Drag that out, make it smooth, increase the size to 21, look at it from the side, or rather from the front, rotate it 90 degrees, I'll select both of these shapes, click Align, click the half sphere so that it does not move, and I'll align these two shapes up and down, and front to back is already aligned, so that's good. Now I'm going to tap on the cylinder, tap F to zoom in, and I'm just going to nudge that over so that those two shapes are overlapping slightly. Select both, tap F, zoom in. Can't really tell if they're aligning or not. There could be a tiny little gap there, and I don't want that. So I'm going to tap on the cylinder, turn the snap grid off, and I'm just going to nudge it over until I see that it's clearly overlapping. Now I can select both of those shapes and group. Okay, so I have my cutout. Now I can drag out a sphere and make it smaller, and actually notice I've made it a little bit non-spherical. Don't want it that tall though. Let's say 4 millimeters. I'm going to select both of those shapes, tap Align, tap the cutout so it doesn't move, and move the small sphere up to the top. I'll look at it from the front to help me align it. Drag that up, move it over so that it's more or less centered where these two shapes join. And you'll see now that the half sphere will cut out the curved portion of the exterior decoration, and the cylinder will cut out anything else. So we don't want this lower part of the right side of that sphere to be hanging down. Okay, select everything, click the Align tool, click on the cutout so it doesn't move, and make sure that that's centered. Look at this from the front. Click on the sphere, click Duplicate, tap D to drop it down, and then I'll use the arrow to bring it down so that it's sticking out of the bottom. All right, just to make things clearer, I'm going to select the body piece and just hide it for the time being. So again, looking from the front, I'm going to click on one of the small spheres and hold down the Shift key and click on the other one and group them. Now I'm going to look at everything from the right. With those two spheres selected, I'm going to click Duplicate, and I'm going to rotate. Now this is kind of a trial and error sort of thing. And now, while those are still selected, I'll click Duplicate and Repeat, and it will repeat that action. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll stick with that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select everything, hold down the Shift key, and click the cutout so that that is not selected, but all of those spheres are, and I'm going to group them. It may take a while to group because we're dealing with lots of different pieces, so you'll need to be patient. All right, I'm going to look at this from an angle here. Now we can select the ring of spheres as a single object, click Duplicate. I'll turn my snap grid on to 1 so that I can move it out a bit. I'm going to turn it off now. Be careful not to deselect that duplicate. I'm going to hold down the Control key on my keyboard and rotate around. And then I'm going to move my cursor over the rotation arrows. And while the rotation ring is visible, then you can click and drag, and I'm going to rotate it about halfway so that those scales will alternate. Now with my snap grid still off, I'm going to hold the Shift and Option key and shrink down that next row of scales a bit. Okay, and you want Shift and Option because you want to shrink the ring proportionally. All right, now I can click Duplicate and Repeat, and again, I'm checking as I do this to make sure that those spheres are well embedded into that negative blank. And again, and again. Okay, that still looks good. Maybe one more time. All right, that one looks okay. If you want, you can always hold down the Shift and Option key and shrink it a little more. Maybe one more time. Looking at it from the side, you want some of the shell to be poking out. Okay, I think I'll shrink that just a little bit more. Shift Option, shrinking down. Okay, call that good. Now, the last step then is to select everything and group. Again, it may take quite a while for the grouping action to take place because we're dealing with lots and lots of shapes here. Okay, now I'll zoom out. I'll click the light bulb to reveal my snake body with the decoration selected, I'll hold down the Shift key and select the shell, click a line, click the shell again so it doesn't move. I want to make sure that that's centered, front to back, and up and down. Okay. All right. Tap the F key to zoom in. Click on the work plane to deselect everything. I'm going to turn the decoration transparent. Put my snap grid back to 1 so that I can move this over. And remember, we wanted that first row of spheres to hang over the edge about halfway. Okay. Turn that back into solid so that I can look at it from all different angles here. Okay. Looking at it from the top, we'll drag out a whole box because remember we need to cut off the portion that's hanging below the work plane. It's 20 millimeters, so I'll lower it minus 20. Now we can select everything and group. And there we have it. Now you can export, slice, and print. And you can repeat this process for the head and for the tail. Again, you can add different variations. Obviously, for the head, you'll want to add some eyes, maybe a nose. You might want to add some spikes to the top, running down the spine of the snake, whatever you like. Now, this middle piece you can print multiples of and then hook them together to make your snake as long as you wish.